Welcome to the Chevron FAB STEM Fellowship podcast, a tour through Fab Labs and makerspaces across the world to learn about the best practices in teaching STEM and equitable, inclusive, engaging outreach. The Chevron FAB STEM Fellowship is a one-year discovery program for outstanding educators to learn about, create, and promote innovative and inclusive programs that teach STEM using digital fabrication and to engage new and underrepresented student populations in STEM education and careers.
Hi everyone, my name is Nathan Pritchett and I'm the Executive Director of Fab Lab Tulsa in the United States. We're a community-based lab, so we do a lot of programming in education and workforce, as well as member and businesses. And this year, I've been fortunate to be one of the Chevron STEM Fellows, which has given me the opportunity to travel and visit other Fab Labs. And this week, I'm in lovely Oulu, Finland, visiting the Fab Lab here at the university. And I'm joined by Jani Ylioja, and I know my Finnish is terrible, so would you all introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit what you do here and what your role is with your Fab Lab?
Thank you, Nathan. So I'm Jani. I'm a founder of Fab Lab Oulu here in Oulu, in the middle of Finland, and we have been working a lot on different educational programs a long time. That's basically our bread and butter.
My name is Sanchez. I'm also part of the Fab Lab Oulu. I'm instructor there, and I'm also university teacher in the University of Oulu. But my role in Fab Lab has been mainly working with educators and kids, so trying to bring all the good things of digital fabrication into mainly formal education, although we have been working also in informal and non-formal learning environments.
Yeah, so y'all have been amazing hosts, and I really appreciate it. And we've had a really busy week, right?
Yes.
So we've done a lot, and I just want to kind of let people know things we've been doing. So I know the first day we visited a workforce training provider, and we led a workshop. I brought a project, and one of the things I found interesting, so these were young adults, right? So they were, I think most of them were in their 20s. But it was amazing how engaged and present they were in the project that we did. And I wonder if you could both just speak about like the importance of Fab Labs for this age group and with workforce, and how you kind of see that fitting in.
Well, I would say that engaging was really amazing, and the discussions while we were waiting for the laser cutter, they really showed that they wanted to do more, but I think Iwan would be best person to go deeper in the importance.
Yeah, well, I think that there are different topics that they can be covered with digital fabrication and with Fab Labs in this kind of group. So actually, this workforce group that we were working with on Wednesday, they are they are young people that they stop studying and they are a little bit lost. So they don't know what are their skills or what they would like to do in the future. And through digital fabrication, what they are learning is additional skills. It's not that much those let's say skills on math, physics, and so on that might be important for the future, but also these soft skills, these horizontal skills like collaboration, quick prototyping, design thinking, problem solving. That is also a very important skill that perhaps they have not developed yet. And the other thing that, in my opinion, is important for this, especially for this kind of group, is to show them that they are able to do things. There are many of these young people that they consider themselves that they don't have skills. That I mean, I cannot do this. This is very difficult. I never will get that. But through digital fabrication, they realize, okay, I can do a design, I can work with computers, and in the end I can have a product, I can have something with me that I have built myself, that I have created myself, and this give a lot of confidence to this group.
Yeah, we've talked about this, and we find the same experience in Tulsa. A lot of young people haven't had enough experiences. For whatever reason, there's societal issues, there's cultural issues. And we talked to one of our workforce partners at home, and they say young people come in and they know they need a job and they want a job, but they haven't had enough experiences to know what their skills and what their aptitude and what their interests are. And sometimes they just need a safe space to explore ideas and to, you all were using a term at lunch today, this self-exploration, self-perception, so that they can really discover who they are and what they're good at so they can start pursuing a career. I think it's really important.
Yeah, and self-confidence, again, I think is very, very important aspect.
Yeah, I think we saw that with the group yesterday. They seem to be very self-confident. Talking about the laser, there are these little surprises, so everyone kind of knows, well, sometimes you have to queue up at a laser, right, to everyone get a turn. And so we had a 30-minute long conversation about frequencies of light and different types of lasers, the difference between blue lasers and fiber lasers. And it was really interesting that they were so interested in learning more.
Yeah, they were really engaged after the workshop and during the workshop. And one more thing that comes out of this is that they really have this tangible product they have made. And it has a lot of value when you are trying to apply a job, saying, I designed this, I made it with laser.
Yeah, and we see that in our own workforce programming at home as well, is that sometimes just having the right vocabulary can be enough to get you over that hump and into a job, and just having a little bit of skills and self-confidence is what people really need. Yeah. So that seems so long ago now. But
Well,
it was a great
has been a rapid fire, really.
Yeah.
So yesterday we visited a couple of different schools. We visited a high school in the afternoon, and we visited an elementary school, what we'd call an elementary school in the U.S. And you have slightly different terminology, Hinta School. And it was just an amazing experience at Hinta. And maybe you kind of talk about, so they've been doing this for quite some time. They seem to be a very early adopter with Fab Lab and makerspace equipment. And we got to tour their school, see some of their bigger projects. So they were doing art installations at big scale. They have a makerspace in their library. Then we got to go into one of their classrooms, and I was really impressed with the way their students were able to talk to us about what they were doing, especially just strangers. I feel like I've just walked in off the street.
And in English, because
yes, in English.
It's not their native language.
Yeah, so could you guys kind of talk about, how important it is for, the education, the schools to have these types of programmings here in Finland?
Well, that is a good question. I'm not quite sure what to answer. But yeah, I do believe it's important. And we have been talking about this STEAM and digital fabrication and that stuff. And this school was one of the really early adopters for these especially in the form of STEAM. And that was the point after they learned some of the digital fabrication methods as teachers. That was the point where they actually understood how they can make some parts of the Finnish curriculum happen. Because there was, for instance, this continuous evaluation, and they had no means to do that. But after they opened this makerspace and started to use that, it actually made it possible, and it has improved a lot of the education there. And the other point was that there's a lot of young people that can be, for instance, restless. And we have a very good example from another school of one of those 3 Fab Labs that we have in elementary schools in this area. And there was this kid who had troubles at school because kid was too restless. But after the Fab Lab, he got to kind of use his energy to do something active, and he used that a lot. And he actually got quite famous. He was giving a speech for CEOs and visitors of the success of this process after using the Fab Lab, and also all kind of we have been talking about bullying, for instance, and all sorts of troubles, and it seems to make classes more relaxed and functional when they get to do this stuff.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think it's one important aspect there is that they give the opportunity, they give the chance of expressing a different way. So it's not just writing something or making a drawing, but it's you have. I mean, each kid has their own way of expressing the self-expression, and this is also something that we have been discussing in some of the conversations today, and perhaps they have some hidden skills, or they could feel that they could express their feelings in a different way, and it will help what you have been mentioned to redirect this kid in the right path. And then if we continue with let's say why digital fabrication in schools, I think that another important aspect is that it make easier multidisciplinary education. So this is one of the examples that we were discussing yesterday with the teacher in Hinta. So they don't have a specific class of art, history, or math, but they merge them together. For example, the topic that they were working when we were there was Europe. It was geography in Europe.
History, yes.
So they were mixing together the aspect of geography, the aspect of history with the aspect of art. So when we went to their classes, actually they were drawing some. Each one of the kids they had a monument of a different city in Europe, and they were drawing it. And of course, later, if we add their digital fabrication, it could be, for example, build a 3D model of this monument, or create with the laser cutter. It could be also engraved. So I think that this multidisciplinarity and working multiple subjects at the same time is important, because they see that in the end, when you are working, you don't have a zero. You don't have here. You have math. Here you have history. Here you have music. But in the end, everything is. It has to merge together, and I think this is also important that they see that what they are studying in math, they have an application in other fields, and digital fabrication, STEM education helps on that.
Yeah, I completely agree. So we talk a lot about this kind of depth of knowledge rubric, and so there's a theoretical knowledge that you gather from the traditional reading and studying and memorizing, and then there's this knowledge from application, whether it's drawing something, whether it's designing it in 2D software or 3D software, creating projects, and these kind of tactile things where we start bringing our ideas into the real world, and it really does help reinforce these other topics that we want them to learn. And yeah, it was a pretty impressive example. Their art was also, it was good.
It was amazing.
It was really good.
I couldn't do that either.
Yeah, so it was. Yeah, overall, it was impressive. You were going to say something, John?
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to bring in the business because but you were saying that subjects are merging, and that's how it's in the real life as well, right?
Exactly.
So
yes.
But they are also using it for teaching business skills for kids.
Yeah, we didn't talk about the fact, maybe we should talk about the fact that they actually run an online store out of the school where they sell the products that they make, and that they make these as a team. It's good. So you can go, I'm assuming you can just type in Hinta School Store and find some of the products they're making.
Yes, you can actually buy them, yeah.
Yeah.
And one thing that I like a lot, what they were when they were introducing this Hinta design, is the collaborative aspect. That is also an important part of digital fabrication and maker culture and STEAM. So they the way that they work, they first do a design of the jewelry individually, but then together they start providing feedback to each other, and they start choosing, okay, perhaps this is a design that is more suitable for what we want to do. Finally, they get 3 designs, and they continue the discussion, and all together make improvements, make modification until they have the final design that is the one that they are going to laser cut and then sell. And what the teacher said is that the design is not of one person, but is of the whole group. So you are not going to see there that the design is of this student or this student, but the design is of the class 4A, 4B, or wherever. And I think this is important because it makes all the students part of the effort, or part of the work.
So they create their own community.
Exactly.
This way. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah. And you're exactly right. So as our world becomes a bit more complicated, it certainly becomes more multidisciplinary. So it's harder today to stay in these old traditional 20th century silos that we kind of expected in education, but now the fact that they need to be blended together, all the best products we have combine everything, right? They're a little artistic, they're a lot of design, they've got some computer programming, they've got some electronics, and so they're pretty sophisticated. One last thing about Hinta School that we need to talk about is that design and making process. So multiple times throughout the school, we saw this graphic of the design process that they use on the wall. Like when you walk into the school, directly in front of you, you see their design thinking process. We saw it in the library. We saw it in their classroom. And I found that really exciting that it's such a part of their school, something they look at and see every day.
Yeah, it's part of the integration. I mean, this is what we mean when we talk about integrating STEAM and digital fabrication. So all this process, this design process that in the end is everywhere with different names, different modifications, but they somehow formalize, and they are all the teachers, they are using the same or similar design process. So the kids already know the path from start brainstorming, start thinking until they get the final product. And even it's not only getting the final product, but it's also discussing about the final product, what went well, what didn't work, how it can be improved. Are we going to succeed in this? Do we need a second iteration, third iteration, or I mean, this also discussion of the product itself. They provide expressivity. They provide, again, communication skills. For instance, you need to tell other students what you have done, and following this design process model that we saw in most of the classes in Hinta. It helps also in this multidisciplinarity and acquiring these additional skills, not just subject skills, not just math skills, but also this design thinking and
yeah, it's interesting. One of the questions we do as an evaluation is, can you share your ideas with others?
Yeah.
It seems so simple as humans that we can communicate with others, but it's such an important skill. I don't want to miss talking about the Fab Lab you have here at the university too. Do you want to talk about how that's integrated into the university? One of the things I was really impressed with, and frankly, one of the reasons why I wanted to come here was not just the whole ecosystem, which we're going to talk about next, but the classwork that you've been able to do and the way you've been able to integrate it. It's something we've talked about at home, but we've just never been able to quite figure out how to do. And I know you were kind enough to explain the different classes, and in addition to Fab Academy, but what you do for the university students. So could you talk about that for just a few minutes?
Yeah, thanks. So there's several different ways we do that stuff, and the first thing we do when the students come here to the university, new students come, in first few days, we take them in small groups and have them make some project in a Fab Lab. So we call this grouping.
Okay.
And this is something that I said earlier, that we don't want these groups to form organically. we want to make it happen as soon as possible and in the way that everybody is included. And the point of this exercise is that everyone would have a group to join when they really start doing their studies. And we believe that they will graduate faster and with better grades when they study in groups, and everybody will now have the group. The second thing we do is this introductory course for digital fabrication, which is mandatory for some study programs, and they do it also at first year. And in this course, they will already get study credit points, and they will be doing a group project, including some electronics, some programming, some mechanics. So some kind of interactive thing they make in groups of 3 or 4. So each of them get to try one process, integrate it to the other processes, and see how the couple of other processes are done in a Fab Lab. And we believe that this will lower the threshold to come through the door and use it in their studies in all the classes. And these actions have led to the situation that the Fab Lab is being used. It varies per year, but it has been used roughly, I would say, for 40 different university courses. Like, it's crazy amount. And the final next version of these uses is the Fab Academy. So Neil took this how to make almost anything and put it to the network, and I always say that I put it back to the university. So we created like a overlay, we could call it. And in our situation, if my student takes 5 of my courses, we can then send the material to Fab Academy for global evaluation, and they can get the diploma. Or if they do the Fab Academy in our Fab Lab, then we can accredit them the study credit points for almost a half year.
Yeah, so it really provides an incentive for the students and a real value to them.
Yeah, and it is now going to be like a minor study subject available for students.
It's amazing. So today, day 3, we got to visit the business center downtown, and it has a Fab Lab in it. Again, an amazing facility. And we also visited with people from the city of Oulu. I didn't say that right. City of Oulu. Oulu, yes. And I was really fascinated. I think I've got a whole list of takeaways from my visit here. But can you all talk about this initiative, STEAM in Oulu, and what it means for your city? It's something that I definitely want to learn from and continue to learn from. And it's something that I think almost every city that has a Fab Lab needs to try to consider how this really integrates into a community-wide movement. It's really impressive.
So, would you start?
Yeah, I can start. So when we start discussing, actually Jani start discussing with different schools when we opened the Fab Lab on what could be the potential and how could we collaborate. What we started to do was, okay, let's invite students to our Fab Lab. They came there for 1 day, 2 days. They do different activities. They use the equipment and so on. But we realized, okay, if we really want to have an impact in the education, we need to integrate it in formal education. And we start thinking, okay, so let's see how we can try to show schools what are the advantages of using this kind of education, what are the advantages of using STEAM, what are the advantages of using digital fabrication. We start discussing with some people in the city, and we managed to find another 2 people, city officers, that okay, they were really in the topic, and also Jani helped to bring this interest to some of the principals in some of the schools. So what we realized is that the teachers, they didn't have the background. They didn't know how to use the machines, but not only that, they didn't have an idea, okay, I might know how to use a 3D printer, but the difficult thing is how can I use the 3D printing into education to teach math? So what we're starting to do is to create what in Denmark that is part of our inspiration when we started this community. It was called a pioneer. So a group of teachers that they were interested in the topic and that the principals of the schools considered that they might be eager to show it to other teachers, so to train to other teachers. So we started an education program for principals and teachers of 6 different schools 1 year. These schools, they got funding also for getting equipment. And from that moment on, we started working in building the community. So the following year, we continue the training for schools, but adding 10 new schools in the program. But the difference here is that it was not only Fab Lab, our Fab Lab who was providing training, but also teachers from the initial schools. They were helping also these teachers. So the idea was create a network of mentors that would help other teachers. And this is important, especially here in Finland, because sincerely, teachers, they only trust other teachers. So if they see that they are usually skeptical in change, in average, of course, again, we have the pioneers that are the ones that are willing to try new things. But in general, in average, they are skeptical about change. So if they don't see that other teachers are using these different methodologies, this digital fabrication, they say, okay, I'm not going to waste my time in trying to learn this because it's not going anywhere. So little by little, we were growing this network of schools. Nowadays, all primary and secondary schools, elementary schools and upper secondary schools, they are part of the network. Well, today Mikey said that just one is missing. And we are also integrating the kindergarten. Most of the kindergarten are part of this STEAM network, and also little by little also high schools. And I mean, it's what you mentioned. It's not only the importance is not only the schools, but it's the community, because we managed to integrate in the rest of the areas of the city. For example, there is collaboration with local museums. There is a collaboration with some companies. Of course, there is collaboration with universities. So right now we are running in the Faculty of Education is running the first minor in STEAM education in the whole Finland. So little by little, we were creating this network that is feeding to each other. So all the stakeholders are important. They have the role, and I'm sure that of course the schools, we couldn't have succeed without schools. Schools couldn't have succeed without having us. Then also, of course, the support of the city. They need to provide in the end resources, the funding for doing this. So in the end, I mean, important. The most important aspect, if you want to succeed, is to have a strong network in which different stakeholders, not only the ones that you consider, not only the teachers, but there are a lot of different stakeholders in education that are important for the success of the success of the community.
Yeah, that's what really stood out to me, was this community buy-in and understanding how important it was for the community, for the city, for your future. And it's very impressive. Lastly, we should also mention that Oulu, excuse me again.
Thank you. Very good.
Just became a Fab City this summer. You want to talk about what that means for the community and give a little bit of background on that?
Yeah. The background is that we have been trying to do that for, I think, 8 years. And we have been using the methodology to combine the Fab Labs and these people with new skills, with existing industry and infrastructure of the city. But what really tipped the scale was when this steam went everywhere. After that, it was really understood also in the city that we do need to provide the possibility for these people with these new skills when they come to the working life to really be productive. And that happened kind of easily in the way that we had this project for sustainability things in schools, and we had this team in Oulu that was going to all the public schooling. So we don't really have private schools. They are very rare in Finland. So it's all public schools. And they are now pretty much all connected to this team in Oulu. And we just combined these two and said, that's our Fab City. So we will connect these sustainability goals to this digital fabrication we have here. And then city said it out loud. It's in all schooling, pretty much in all schooling. And also the couple of private educators that usually do post-service education, so people that are already in working life, they are now contacting us and want to collaborate in this as well. And city tries to provide this possibility for all the other citizens. So there are places, as we said, City Fab Lab, and there's a makerspace in library and so on.
Yeah, I think what you said that really resonated with me is that there's a place for the circular economy and the people that are part of that economy, and they're complementary to the more traditional 20th century economy that people are used to for economic development, but that they really can and should and really have to work together, right?
Yes, I do believe that this is the only way to make it really work, when people are both doing and making the stuff that is somehow easier for them in these new facilities than it's for the companies, and vice versa.
Yeah. Well, again, I just want to thank you both. You've been such generous hosts, and this has been a great experience for me. Obviously, I want to thank the Fab Foundation and Chevron, and hopefully all the other Fabbers out there. If you have any questions, I'm sure people can reach out to you and learn more. And thanks for hosting me. It's been amazing.
It has been great time discussing with you also. It's also very important to understand. I mean, in the end, when we have the discussion, we show, okay, we have similar problems everywhere.
Yes, yeah.
and it's easy to, I mean, it's good to try to find what others have, where others have succeeded, and see if they work in our environment.
Yeah, I think that's where this Fab network's really important. So we often talk about, sometimes we feel a little isolated, and so we're not like another profession where we can just have a luncheon and have 300 or 400 Fab Labbers show up and have professional development opportunities. And so sometimes a little bit of time goes without us visiting another Fab Lab or having a conversation. And you're exactly right. It's sort of reinforcing to know that we're not that different. There's a few little differences, but we're all trying to solve the same problems, improving and empowering our communities and making them better. And the more we can learn from each other, really the better we all are.
Yeah, both peer support and visiting other Fab Labs to see what they do is really valuable. And so thank you for visiting us, and
thank you.
Also sharing what's happening in Tulsa, because it was really interesting to see which parts are similar, like the major parts and things that we have been successful are mostly similar, and there's only minor differences that are connected to the local society and environment. So it was really interesting.
Yeah.
Thanks for visiting us.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
It's been great. Thank you.
The Chevron FAB STEM Fellowship is a one-year discovery program for outstanding educators to learn about, create, and promote innovative and inclusive programs that teach STEM using digital fabrication and engage new and underrepresented student populations in STEM education and careers. The program is inspired by Chevron's social investment strategy and the global Fab Lab network, both of which foster innovation, learning, and invention. Fab Labs, with their suite of digital fabrication tools and prototyping machines, including laser cutters, 3D printers, vinyl cutters, and milling machines, are inspiring young people across the world to learn about science, technology, engineering, and math STEM. These are safe and accessible places to play, create, learn, mentor, and invent. The fellowship awards a stipend of $10,000 to each selected educator to use toward creating and disseminating new, inclusive practices in STEM education and hands-on impactful making. The fellows will visit a few Fab Labs of their choice anywhere in the world to learn, to reflect, to co-create new curriculum and disseminate new practices. Their work will be published in podcasts, online blogs, and through talks and presentations at conferences and educational events over the coming year. For more information about this podcast series and the Chevron FAB STEM Fellowship Program, please reach out to us at cvxfabstem@fabfoundation.org.